about the definition of manifesting, and it's the performing strategic, manageable, and actionable steps simply and consistently. So that's what we want to do. We talked two-part workshop. So like I said, we get excited about New Year, right? We feel like that anything is possible. We start dreaming about all the amazing things that we want to happen in our life and to accomplish in the next year. And then when we start thinking about what we need to do there, we get, oh, yay, we got some more sound stuff. So I think we're going, okay. So we got all this excitement. And then as we start thinking about it, our unconscious mind, starts creeping up, that mindset part of it, and we start comparing like that vision of all of the awesome that we want for our life really to where we are right now, and then kind of everything can start to go south there. We might feel really excited one day, and the next day we feel really depressed and sad about where we're at right now. We feel anxious, we get frustrated, we're overwhelmed, and that's what happens when our unconscious stories and beliefs that we have don't line up with our vision of what our conscious mind is dreaming about, right? So we have dissonance, right? So there's not an alignment. Like, this is where we want to be on the outside, and then this is where maybe we feel unconsciously. So when they're not in alignment, you can't manifest any of that, right? Our unconscious mind, all this negative programming starts telling us like, you'll never be able to achieve that. Who do you think you are? You don't even, you can't even remember to brush your teeth every night, or you can't get your dishes done, or how do you think you could possibly achieve all of these goals, right? So can anyone that's on and can hear me, can you relate to this? Just throw something in the chat box if that sounds familiar to you. If you've ever had a time like you feel really excited one day and then the next day you feel like, well, I'll never get to this goal anyway. I've never achieved it before. I know that this happens because I have a lot of discussions with my clients, and this is something I've definitely encountered in my life as well. So anyway, that's the reason we want to dive in and do this, and we need to have a plan to follow. So I want you not to overthink this. We think we have to have it perfect. And we don't. You don't have to know it all. But step number one is we need to create like a 2 to 3 year plan or vision, right? And so instantly for some people, it'd be like, oh my God, I don't know. How do I know how things have to look in 2 to 3 years? And there's no perfect answer, right? It's just like, what do you want for your health and fitness, your relationships, your finances, business if you have it, your job, your career? If you could pick, how would you like that to feel in the next 2 to 3 years? Like, as we go through this workshop, I want you to like pick one area that you kind of think about to work through, but this works, having a 90-day game plan in any of those areas that you want to improve, so to speak. So I want you to literally be writing stuff down right now. So this isn't just passive. Of course, if you're driving or if you're in the middle of something right now that you can't really write it down, I want you to be thinking about these things so that you actually take this stuff and do it like deliberately afterward. I want you to actually walk away from this with having part of your game plan ready already, having some notes, having a little bit of an outline. So I'm just going to talk about health, right? Just because most people can relate to this, but this goes in other areas. So if you have any questions about any of that, let me know for sure. Okay. All right. So step number one, 2 to 3 year plan. Let's imagine that we need to lose weight because it's such a common thing. Most people can, if you can't relate to that, someone else in your life has, or a different, time in your life. Let's say, you need to lose 150 pounds. I'm just throwing this number out here so we can really see, like, that's a big goal, right? We're not going to lose 150 pounds in 90 days. And we know that, but we want to think, so what do we need to do? We in 2 to 3 years, I want to have this this 150 pounds taking off. So that's kind of the 2 to 3 year plan, is like being a healthy weight, whatever that might be, taking off that 150 pounds. So it's important that we play the long game, right? So one of the main reasons that we don't achieve our goals is that we totally overestimate what we can do in 30 days or 6 weeks, right? How many times have we seen the banner ads that lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks or something, what's really kind of crazy. And we get super excited, like, yes, I can do this. We totally overestimate what we can do in that short period of time. And then we underestimate what we can do long-term over the 2 to 3 years. So when life happens and you don't lose that 30 pounds in 6 weeks, maybe like the first week in, you get sick or you miss a workout and you eat really poorly one day, and all of a sudden we know, like, there's no way now I'll reach that 30-pound goal. And so if we can't reach that, we just scrap it, right? We're kind of all or nothing, and we need to kind of get rid of that, right? Life happens. So that's why we need to focus long-term and play the long game. It's okay to have short-term cut in there, but understand that it's flexible and dynamic and changing. Are you with me? Anybody that can be near the chat box, just if that's making sense, or if you have any questions about that right now. Okay, so we're moving on. Step number 2, do you have your 2 to 3, we're talking 150 pounds. What's that for you? Yes, makes sense. Thank you, Leanne. So I want you to, like, literally write something down right now, or at least get it in your mind. And you guys feel free to share this if you want to. In the chat box too, but what kind of 2 to 3 year plan? What's something that you would like to have different in 2 to 3 years? And then we break it down. So we have now we need to go into step 2, which is establish it. Get out of debt. That's a good one. That's a perfect one, Leanne, right? So your 2 to 3 year plan is to get out of debt. And then now, and however much that is, you're going to write that down with your 2 to 3 year plan, get out of such and such amount of debt, right? So now we establish a 90-day outcome. That's step number 2. Step number 1 is, what's your 2 to 3 year plan? Losing the 150 pounds, getting out of debt, however much that is, right? For you. So number 2, establish a 90-day outcome. So where do we need to be at the end of 90 days to be on track to get that, reach that plan for the 2 to 3 years? So where do we need to be in 90 days to be on track to lose the 150 pounds? Where do we need to be in 90 days to be on track to get out of that amount of debt in 2 to 3 years, right? We're not going to try and do it all in 90 days. However, it's amazing how once you get started with this, things can happen a lot more quickly than you think if you use the process. So let's imagine the 90-day outcome then is losing 20 pounds. Okay. I'm just throwing out a number. I don't know what yours is, right? It doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be perfect. We think we need to know all the answers, excuse me, to know, like, have the exact, well, I don't know, is my 90-day outcome right? We don't know that, right? It's flexible. It's living. You're never going to know exactly what it needs to be, but you need to pick something. So I'm just going to give an example. Let's say we're going to try to bring off 20 pounds in the first 90 days. And let's just say you're going to try to eliminate $500 of debt in the first 90 days. These are just random numbers because that's what's brought up, right? Yours could be completely different, but I want you to write something down then. What would your 90-day outcome need to be? Okay, so there's no overthinking. We don't know it. Everything is possible and figure outable. You're like, well, I don't know how. Our unconscious mind is just going to start to say, well, I don't know what I need to do to have a plan to lose 20 pounds in 90 days, or I have no idea how I'm going to make enough money to reduce my debt by $500 in 90 days. That's not what I asked you for right now. Okay. So tomorrow we're talking more about that mindset stuff, but I want you to understand and hear me. That's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm asking you to establish a 90-day outcome. And I don't want you already telling yourself, well, I can't reach that, right? We're picking something. So we're moving on with, reducing our weight by 20 pounds and reducing our debt by $500. Okay. So now that we have that 90-day outcome to look at, we're moving on to step number 3. Are you with me? Are we still making sense? Okay. Step number 3, we're going to break down the 90-day outcome into objectives, right? My notes are kind of crazy. My printer's not working, so my notes are a little bit harder to read, to remember. I get excited and have a lot to talk about. So what do we need? Now we start to think about, we've established our 2 to 3 year plan, we've established our 90-day outcome, and now step number 3, we're going to write down our objectives. What do we need to be doing and to reach that 90-day outcome, right? So now's where we start to break it down. For instance, what little do we know? If we know that we want to lose 20 pounds, let's see. If we don't have any workout plan, maybe we're going to try and work out 4 times a week, right? Okay. So maybe we're going to hire a personal trainer. Maybe we're going to meet with a nutrition coach. Those could be those things. If we're going to eliminate debt, wow, we need to figure out how much debt we have. We need to figure out what our expenses are. We need to figure out what our income is. Okay. So these are some objectives. Again, don't get overwhelmed. You're going to write down the things that you know that you need to do to start with to reach that outcome, right? The 90-day outcome. So break down in some tasks and objectives. Okay. So who's still on and available right now? Is this making sense to go from the 2 to 3 year plan to the 90-day outcome and now to the objectives? Yes. Okay. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. Making sense. Perfect. So after we have our objectives, I want you to actually write some down right now. I'm not going to really stop this. You can always come back to it, but I want you thinking as we're talking through this right now to actually be thinking about yours and to be taking some notes, because I don't want this to be one more workshop where you listen and that was great information and you don't do anything with it, right? Let's not waste our time with that. Let's make a step with this and actually take action on it, right? Okay, so writing down some of your objectives, and it's okay if they're not perfect. You might write some down now that you're not going to use. You're probably going to think of more things after this that you need to add, and that's okay. Brainstorm it, get it written down, then you can chop through it, and that's what we're going to do next. So step number 4, you're going to break down all those objectives into the tasks, right? So let's say our weight loss goal. Now our objectives was work out 4 days a week. Well, now we have to figure out with the trainer, maybe you hire the trainer. If you're going to hire a trainer to figure out your workout plan for you, then one of your tasks is going to be research trainers, right? If you're going to be at the gym, then you need to research gyms. Are you going to be working out at home? Then you need to research workout programs at home or workout equipment. What things are you going to need, right? So break this down into tasks. You want to chunk it way down. It's going to, might seem overwhelming when you break it down, but really what it does is it makes it so simple. Because when it's just this big, we have a tendency not to do it. Oh, yay. Glad to hear me. Sorry. I'm checking in with feedback here back and forth. So thank you. Thank you for the feedback. What I want you to be writing them down right now. So all of your tasks that you might need to do to reach that objective. Again, do not overthink it, right? Our brain is the biggest thing that gets in the way. As we're writing these tasks, that unconscious mind is like, holy shit, that's a lot of stuff to do. I'll never be able to do all of that. It's natural, right? It's very common for our unconscious mind to all of a sudden throw up all these blocks, all the negative programming that like, well, you've never been able to do before. You can't do that. You can't afford a trainer. All sorts of stuff. I want you to just silence that, hear what I'm saying, and write them down, right? I promise we're going to work on the mindset stuff, like I said, again, tomorrow. And that is the second half of that. But you got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, this goes nowhere, right? You have nothing to aim for. So you're just kind of meandering and you have no space to aim for. So you're breaking down all your tasks. For instance, if it's the debt, right? Well, then, okay, so we knew that the objective was to find out how much we're spending, right? We need to know. So you've got to actually list your expenses. So that's one of your tasks is finding all of your expenses, finding all of your income. If you have different sources of income, you have to calculate all your debt, right? So that maybe the interest rates of different things, if you have different things to pay off. So these are the tasks, some examples, right? And again, this can be the relationships, business, money, Yeah. Job. That's the other one. Sorry, it was floating around. So in your career, is there something you need to do different? Is there continuing education if you want to advance in your career? Do you need to be looking for a new job? Do you need to be doing a resume? Things like that, right? So, yay, I'm so excited. I'm having so much fun right now. Are you? Please tell me this information is helping you. Please tell me it's helping you. So, we're going to move on to step number 5, and where the magic continues to happen. Right. So now we have all these tasks, right? You may only have a few down. And again, don't overthink it. I don't care if you don't have them all. And I don't care if you're not sure what you need to do. It doesn't matter. You write them down right now. You've got to start. That is the biggest thing. This is why people hire coaches too, right? We get so overwhelmed, and then even like, I don't know what to do next. But we do if we get our brain and head out of the way. And that's why we're going through it right now. All your little tasks. Now you need to schedule them, right? So now you're going to take time, and you're going to, it doesn't matter what kind of calendar you use, right? I like to write in a planner. I like schedule stuff on my phone, but I also like to see it all in print and write stuff out on my calendar. But we need to prepare. You need to plan it out. You need to make this so simple that your brain and mindset cannot talk you out of it. You need to make it so simple so it's like just a list right in front of you, right? It's kind of like one of the great analogies here is like, it's like a syllabus, right? You're creating this syllabus, like if you've had in school, if you've been in college, or different things, or an agenda that's going to tell you exactly what you have to do. And this time you're going to be creating this, and you're going to be doing these tasks. So step number 5 is simply to take those tasks and plug them in, right? What are the first things you need to do? This isn't being like, okay, I start tomorrow, so I have 47 tasks on my list for tomorrow to do. We all know that that's not going to work, right? So that's what I want you to think about, right? On your calendar, do your best. And please remember, this isn't perfect. This is going to be a living document. It's dynamic. It's going to change. Each week, you're going to review and make changes, right? Because inevitably, we'll probably put way too many things on one day and expect too many things of ourselves, and then we won't get it done. And we won't meet all of our, objectives for that day. And that's okay. Then we know, because remember, we're playing the long game. The fact is that you're moving forward instead of just sitting around feeling overwhelmed. So plug in your thing. So maybe tomorrow, if I'm starting tomorrow, my first thing is I'm going to research 2 trainers, right? I'm going to research it. And maybe the next day, and this is what I'm plugging into my calendar for the next week. So you're going to make a plan for the week. I'm going to plug in that I'm going to research 2 trainers tomorrow. On the next day, I'm going to contact those 2 trainers to set up a consultation to check them. And then maybe by next week, I'm going to hire one. Or if you're not hiring a trainer, tomorrow I'm going to research. If I'm going to work at home, I'm going to research at home workout programs, find one for myself, get it in. And then the next day I'm going to find out what equipment I need to do. You don't have to, you're not going to spend 2 months figuring out the right workout program. You're going to do a little research, and you're going to pick one, and you're going to go with it and you're going to stick with it. And then you can always change later. Right? So who has questions right now? So the other thing, if you're doing the weight loss, and let's say it's the debt one, so you're getting down every day, maybe I need to plug in time to track my expenses, right? Because or maybe I'm going to do it once a week, and I'm going to log all my expenses. So on such and such a day, at such and such a time in my calendar, this is when I go through all my receipts and track my expenses, right? Or this is how this day I'm going to spend a couple minutes looking at ways that I can make a little extra money. Or this day I'm spending this much time deciding how I can decrease my expenses. I need to call and cancel my cable bill, or whatever. You're going to plug that in onto your calendar and make it super, super simple, right? Right? Tell me, does it feel simple? Does it feel simple once you start to look at breaking it down into the super small pieces? Anybody who is still available, if you can let me know if it's making sense still, and if it feels easy when you can say, okay, this is simple. Today I'm going to spend 20 minutes looking for this. Or maybe you call a friend and ask for a referral to a certain program, or you find a group of people who are eliminating their debt, right? These are the different things that we can do, or finding a course. And then understanding it's a flow, right? So on your calendar right now, you're picking one day to review and adjust, right? So, and the weight loss, one day is going to be your grocery shopping day. Perhaps on such and such a day at this time, I do my grocery shopping day. On this day at such and such a time, I plan my meals. So I know what I need to get to go to the grocery store, and I'm planning that I have everything that I need to eat properly according to what I'm going to eat, to get my vegetables and everything. Okay. So on one day, you're going to pick your plan and you're going to go back over the week, right? And you're going to say, this worked really well. Wow, that was amazing. I'm going to stick with that. This not so well. Maybe I don't work out on Tuesdays because Tuesdays needs to be a rest day because I'm busy with kids and everything else. Or maybe I have to take my workouts from 45 minutes just down to 20 minutes. Or maybe I do it 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week I'm on rest day. 2 days during the week are rest days and other days are workout days, right? You just have to pick. And understanding, again, I cannot stress this enough. You cannot focus on being perfect, and you cannot focus on not having it figured out. Everything is figure outable, right? It's just breaking it down and taking the one little step that'll take you a little bit further. So if you actually get the 90-day plan and commit to it, in a sense that you commit to using it and growing with it, right? It doesn't have to stay exactly. You might get to the end of the 90 days and you didn't make, the 20 pounds, but maybe you made 10 pounds. Wow. Woo! We celebrate the crap out of that. And then we're still, as you're making your new 90-day plan, how do you adjust? So you might only get 10 pounds, but what's the difference from if you stayed overwhelmed and you didn't build all those great habits and didn't lose anything? The same thing with the debt. Maybe you get to the end of the 90 days and you only, decreased your debt by $250. But we're progressing, right? Here's the other side of the coin. You might get to the end of that 90 days and you lost 30 pounds, or you might have, decreased your debt by $750, right? So these are some huge things I want you to consider, right? It has to be consistent, and you have to use this plan and understand that it's working and not let your brain kind of kick you out of what's going on. So if you have any questions, guys, I'm getting ready to wrap it up.